Hi, everybody. Pastor Dale here. Hope you're having a good week. I have an update to give, but I want to start by reading a verse from Proverbs chapter 3, starting in verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't rely on your own intelligence. Know Him in all your paths, and He will keep your ways straight. Don't consider yourself wise. Now, I like this translation, the way that it words it. And one of the things that I think is important for us to catch here is that it begins by saying, trust in the Lord with all your heart. But it doesn't stop there and say, and don't listen to anyone else. And when it says don't rely on your own intelligence, it doesn't say don't listen to the intelligence of others. It simply says don't rely only on your own intelligence. In other words, it's saying trust in the Lord with all your heart, but don't just rely on your own understanding of things. But in fact, it goes on and encourages us to listen to the counsel of others, and to not just consider ourselves wise in our own eyes. And so during this time of COVID-19 and considering when and how to reopen, what does that mean, for example? Well, it means that it's important that we listen to the advice of medical experts, for example, of the Centers for Disease Control. It's also important that we listen to the guidance of the government and the laws of the land and what they're telling us. And it's also important that we take into account the strong suggestions and recommendations of our denomination, to whom I have taken a vow, for better or for worse, as your pastor. And then to take all of that and to bring it together as church leaders, as a consistory, and to bring that before God and to trust God with all of our heart and to seek God and ask what God would have us to do. And so, in other words, it's actually bad theology for us to just say, well, we don't care what other people are doing, and we're not interested in what they say or what they say. We just want to do this, because it's really not about what we want. It's really not about what I want. It's really not about what you want. And the reason for that is because at the heart of the Christian faith is a Savior, Jesus, whose deepest concern, according to the Gospels, is for the weakest and most vulnerable members of society. We see that throughout the Gospels. And so because of that, it means that it's really not about us and what we want. It's about what's best for others and what we're doing to make sure that others are safe and others are being taken care of. And so because of that, we met tonight as a consistory. And we hashed it out and made sure that everyone's voice was heard. And we talked about different options. We talked about different opinions. We talked about different advice that's out there. We talked about the different emotions that go in to the decisions, and we talked about the different feelings involved and so forth. We spent some time praying together at the end of our meeting. We did all of those things. And we have decided to move forward with the date of June 7th for reopening Community Reformed Church, reopening the building of Community Reformed Church for in-person worship. Sunday, June 7th, that's the first Sunday of June. It is our intention to reopen the church building that Sunday for in-person worship. Now, we're excited about this. I hope you are too. We've worked hard at trying to figure out this online church thing, and I think it's worked well. At least, those of you, a lot of you, have given your feedback on it, and it's been very encouraging and very thoughtful, and very sweet and very kind. And I appreciate all of that. But I got to be honest with you, the novelty of it has sort of worn off. I mean, it was kind of cool the first few weeks, right? It's sort of like, hey, I'm on TV. And you could sort of watch it when you wanted to, and so forth. And there's still a lot of things I like about it. And we talked about trying to do what we can to try to continue some sort of online presence on Sunday mornings, once we've regathered for worship, which I think would be really cool and I think would be really helpful. And one of the reasons for that is because we seem to have people who are watching who don't attend our church, or who don't live anywhere near our church, and who may still want to be a part of things, and we think that's great. It's going to take some time. It may not happen right away because it's going to involve having to probably purchase some better equipment. Right now, we're just using my phone and an external microphone, and that's not probably not quite going to be adequate for a typical Sunday morning worship service with everything that we do. But all that to say, it's been fun, and I think it has worked well. And thank God that we're living the time in which we're living when we have this option. But we're looking forward to meeting again in person. Now, all of that being said, it's very important. We feel like as a consistory, it's very important to make known that initially, as we begin meeting together, it is going to be different than it was before COVID-19, and it's just going. It just has to be. Hopefully not for long, but initially it's going to be different. And during this next 3 weeks, which is how long it is, 3 weeks from this Sunday until we reach June 7th, we're going to put together a group of some folks in the consistory and worship team to talk about some of the precautions and guidelines that we'll need to follow, and we're going to base that on some of the government guidelines, as well as the denominational suggestions, as well as what some of our other my other colleagues in local churches are doing. But it's going to involve some things like still a certain degree of social distancing, and yet we still feel like it's okay for those of you who who are related, who are already together with your family cluster, to continue to sit in your family cluster. We want to be okay with those kinds of things. We still feel like it's important to encourage the wearing of masks and using hand sanitizer. We probably will not be passing the offering plate. We will have a basket by the door. We're not sure yet about communion, at least for that first Sunday in June. We may not be able to partake of communion, which something is near and dear to my heart as the one who administers that. We don't know. We're going to talk about that. Hopefully by the first Sunday in July we could do that. But those are all things that'll have to be worked out, and we're not making any of those decisions yet. Those are all to be determined. We're going to have to eliminate the greeting time. No shaking hands and hugging and those kinds of things, other than within the family, obviously. No coffee hour, those kinds of things. It'll simply be worship, our worship time, and we're going to have to we're going to have to really stick to that, at least initially, probably for that month of June, and then we're going to just have to evaluate things probably week by week. We don't know what this is going to look like. But I don't like using cliches, but the cliche that's been going around is we're in this together, and we'll get through it. We'll figure it out. It'll feel a little awkward at first because everybody's going to be excited to see each other, and it'll be hard to still kind of be at a distance and so forth. And of course, we also want to make known that if you're not comfortable with coming, nobody's obligated. We don't want anyone to feel judged or or looked down upon. If you're not, if June 7th arrives and you're feeling apprehensive, or you're maybe just not ready to come back, or you're just not sure, or maybe you want to come back but you just kind of want to keep your distance, that we understand that, and we want to be sensitive to all of that. Our church is a welcoming place, and so we want to make all of that known. But we also want it to be a worshipful experience as well. We don't want it to be the type of thing where we go and and you just feel like it was it was more enjoyable to stay home and watch it on your phone. So these are things we're going to have to talk about as we go along, but we'll get through it. And the main thing I wanted to get across in this video is I asked Consistory if I could send this out, and they agreed that would be a good idea. Is that the main thing is just to let you know that our intention at this point is to move forward with the reopening date of Sunday, June 7th for in-person worship, with precautions and guidelines coming. And again, the precautions and guidelines are there for our own protection, but for the protection of others. We want to be mindful of the fact that worshiping God cannot be separated. Biblically, it can't be separated from loving our neighbor. And one of the ways that we love our neighbors is by looking after their own good. And so we're having to just do things that look different and feel strange in the meantime to try to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. It's been encouraged and strongly recommended by our classis and our denomination, and in the governor's guidelines. For example, that I continue to work from home during this particular phase up until June, for that reason, so that I, as your pastor, can be healthy, can be safe, so that as we begin to meet again on June 7th, so that I can be ready, so that I can be okay, so that I can be healthy for you, so that I don't risk being exposed. Because not everyone responds to the virus in the same way. Praise God, some people are asymptomatic and they get through it. Other people respond in a much more serious way, and we just don't know. And so we want to combine our wisdom together of worshiping God together, but also knowing that the Spirit transcends our understanding and is asking us to rely on the wisdom and the intelligence of others who are thinking these things through as well. And so we came to that decision tonight, June 7th. In the meantime, these next 3 Sundays, May 17th, May 24th, May 31st, we will continue to have our usual Sunday morning videos online, both on Facebook as well as emailed to you on YouTube. I'll be preaching each of those Sundays. And May 24th, we will get to you a final slate of elder and deacon nominees, and we'll be announcing the date of the congregational meeting to vote on and finalize those elders and deacons. We'll be moving ahead with that. And in God's grace, the timing of all of that miraculously wasn't thrown off very much by this whole quarantine thing. And so we think God is still doing some things in his church. Well, in any case, that's our update. That's our announcement. We thank you for listening. We continue to ask your support and your prayers. We thank you for all of your encouragement, and we look forward to seeing you in person very soon. But in the meantime, to continuing to see you on Sunday mornings on Facebook and on YouTube. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of the week. Peace.